Hello, time travelers. The following video is a conversation with my friend Brian while we were working together to figure out how to build a DIY guitar pedal kit that had pretty bad instructions, and we were chit-chatting and talking about geeky stuff the whole time. Obviously, all of that chit-chat was cut from the video for time. But if you like just watching people chit-chat and say silly things, that's this video right here. This is the one you want. If you came to watch me build a guitar pedal, I'm going to have that linked in the descriptables so that you can head over that way.
Something else. Yeah, there's 56 right there.
This here one of 56.
Lester, I do declare.
You're not from around her.
Pert near don't reckon. So I served my mission in Oklahoma, and I remember getting there and people said pert near reckon, and I was like, what does that mean? And it took a while to get used to it. Then by the end, it's like you ask for directions something, and they're like, well, you can go pert near 2 farsees yonder, hang left for Jim's brown cow is, can't miss it. What did you say? 2 farsee? What is a farsee? Oh, well, 2 farsee, you go as far as you can see, and you go as far as you can see again. Because the hill, you know, there's the rolling hills, so there's always as far. Two
farsees.
Yes. Which at first you'd be like, why? How is that even useful? And like, how do you? Doesn't everybody see a different amount of far? And the answer is no. You can see to the next hill.
Maybe you gotta have redneck meet you. I put some straw in your mouth. Tell everybody why you're here.
Actually, I was here for Love Addicts Anonymous. Oh, that meeting's on Tuesdays. Where I'm from, every day's Taco Tuesday.
What?
And then they got a nothing there. Times 10 to the Because anything to the 0 power is 1 on days ending in Y.
Well, you know, I've been in dimensions where they don't even have days. So
maybe that's why the resistance.
Maybe that's why electronics don't work there.
Could be. Or they let the smoke out of them. If you let the smoke out of the electronics, they don't work anymore. That's why when you turn it on, if the smoke goes everywhere, it's bad news.
You ever drove your time machine somewhere that it just turned off?
Rob talks about his time machine like he's used to it. I've never been in a time machine. Okay, I have found the piece of tape on this solder after much concentration and effort.
I don't want to use that solder.
Oh.
I mean, we can.
Okay.
Solder from my kit that I had.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, this just came out of the soldering iron box. We can use a different one. I grabbed the wrong one and my mistake is on video. Now everyone knows I'm not perfect.
Fine. I'm going to use it so that you don't have the sad feels all day.
That is okay. I will get over it probably sometime next month or so after crying myself to sleep 30 or 40 times. Solder. Can I start soldering? Oh yeah, we gotta get solder out. I forgot to do that. We must have solder.
That was that whole
It's hard when you just time travel a lot, you know?
You can't remember in what order things are happening.
It's too tricky.
Humans are so linear.
If you get some solder on the tip of the soldering iron, it'll transfer heat better. We might have got rid of all of it. There you go. You only just need a dab, and then it'll start transferring the heat real well, and then you should be good to go. Kablam.
Well, it's not going kablam. I said go kablam. So then we have this stuff, which is tip tinner and cleaner.
Ooh, what's that made out of?
It's
keep out of reach of children. That's what it's made out of.
it's made out of nightmares.
Good stuff, yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's made out of fury and devilry. Beautiful. All right, now
I have more better solder if that is giving you like a crap time.
It might, cause like it sort of melts sometimes when it thinks about it. Oh, there he goes.
And it just goes bloop all over.
Yeah, but see now like once the iron gets a little bit on it, then it just goes to town. Now when you go solder it, it'll probably be the much more effective.
I'm not a fan so far.
Yeah, I don't know that I like this solder either.
Yeah, this other solder is way better. I'm not going to use this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a story about this stuff.
Came with the soldering iron. It's not very good.
T met Rash. They fell in love and got married. And they became trash. Toss.
I saw what you're doing there.
Surgical precision.
There you go. That one's a good
It
one.
saves the life of the patient.
Yeah, I think most people who make it through medical school probably are not trying to make money anymore. I think medical school probably weeds out most of them.
I had somebody, and someone suggested getting checked if I have mild spectrum disorder or maybe autism a little bit. And they referred me to this lady who had me on some meds, and I talked to her 4 weeks in a row. And she every week she's like, "Did anybody call you yet about seeing a doctor about your thing?" I'm like, "No." And then we would waste an hour talking about the meds. And then she finally referred me to somebody, and then I got a bill for like almost $500. And the insurance together with that was like a couple grand. I'm like, "What are you?" And I'm like, "This is like she's not listening that I have trouble talking to people because they're crazy and use me and abuse me, and that's exactly what she's doing." I'm not going to ever talk to that human being again.
Yeah.
Because I have to figure out where that money's going to come from.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always looked at the diagnosis of stuff like that as kind of superfluous. Like, it's important to know yourself and know what's going on, but having a diagnosis is kind of pointless.
The only reason I actually need a diagnosis is so that I can have a label to tell worldly people that you can't just talk to me like you talk to other NPCs.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
I go look at the original sync and I count how many frames this is away from me actually clapping. And then I go every time there's a new file, I look for those two spikes and I move it over the same number of frames.
That makes sense. Is that so that noise means new file, huh?
Yeah,
Like it's done recording.
I've got all my phones are on Do Not Disturb except for this one. This is always like my camera one. And every time I hear that, I stop and I clap and I say my line again. Someday I want something that will record. Here's the thing that's frustrating. So you're a geek, so you'll understand this frustration. You know how FAT32 you cannot store files bigger than 4 gigs. Every time you hear bloop bloop, it's because I just used up 4 gigs, and it's making a new file. The SD card is an exFAT. You can't put a FAT32 card in there without it saying it's the wrong format. You gotta change your freaking format.
So
And then you change it. Why are you limiting me to 4 gigs? You retarded. And it's not even the app. Because in the app, which is it's an app I downloaded that has features that stock app doesn't have, and it says maximum file size, and I put unlimited.
And so you're like,
So it's the OS. This rant moment was brought to you by Robert Jene and victimizing his friend Brian.
speaking of rants, so I was telling Gavin about your show, and he went to go add you. There's another Robert Jene who has a YouTube channel, but it's Robert Jen. And because I told him, I was like, Robert Jene, and I knew it was 4 letters that started with a J, but I said it the wrong way to him. And so when he looked it up, I was like, that's not Robert. But it was about guitars. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh, cool. We need to collab someday.
I'm Robert Jene, and I'm Robert Jene. I'm Robert Jene.
Maybe we can play off it. We're from a different dimension or something. Where we were named different because we got different grandpas.
My name's Robert Jene, and I'm Robert Jene. We're both brothers Gene.
My son likes to say Gene because the normal spelling is Gene. And I'm like, is that like GIF?
GIF is a peanut butter. GIF is the fun file format we all know and love.
Yeah, and if you see anybody arguing about it on Facebook, before you get drawn in, delete your Facebook. Not saying there should be Facebook police or anything, but there's some things that just should not be talked about on the internet. Those things go into the dark nether regions of the Facebook.
I was gonna say, if you see somebody arguing about it, you introduce them to the back of your hand, but I guess that maybe is a little less likely to get you in jail.
There are some things that are subject to opinion, like what toppings you put on your pizza or which way you roll your toilet paper, but there's some things that are actually, there's linguistic rules about. And GIF has linguistic rules, and it makes you just wonder why are people arguing about things that there's rules for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the world's not round. Just shut up and leave us all alone, please.
That one's pretty funny to me. Like, we have at this point considerable evidence that the world is round.
We can take you up there and show it to you.
Yeah. Like, not to mention the fact that they knew the Earth was round, like, way back,
1776.
Oh, even earlier than that. Like, it was around the turn of the millennium. Some of the Greeks knew. I mean, it wasn't, like, widespread knowledge, you know? Like, it was only, like, scientists and stuff. But, like, they knew way back then.
Could you imagine all that math they did without computers?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. There's a lot of trigonometry that went into that, and you're just like, holy freaking cow, man. To do all that stuff without anything, like, that's bananas. I'm guessing at some point after doing that so frequently, that's when they came up with like, oh, let's do a table and make tabulated values where we can just look this up real quick. We don't have to do it over and over again. But like, yeah, still, that's ridiculous. I kind of wonder, like, so there was a dude, what was his name? Richard Feynman. He could compute square roots and cube roots in his head. He just knew the algorithm so well he could just do it as like a party trick, you know, to like impress people. And like, I wonder if maybe that was what it was back then there was just some people who were like so super quick at computing crap in their head that they could bust stuff like that out and like, oh, well, I can compute sine in my head and cosine and, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, if you just have people that are hyper-focused like me, but have much less things in their life they have to do and think about.
Yeah. Oh no, that one fell out.
No, it fell out and got soldered that way.
Are you just holding it with your finger? That's hardcore, man.
Yep.
Like,
I usually come out of a kit like this with like 6 scars.
I hope that you are taking and editing small pieces of this conversation in there as you...
I should.
Out of context. Like, I usually come out of this kit with a few scars. Like, put that right next to some random comment about math. Yeah, we could compute stuff. I usually come out of this with scars.
It looks a little better. Still white on the top.
Put a bunch of flux on it, and then do that again.
Flux on my tip. And then...
You can hold it with something, too, if you want to. Make it
that looks nice now.
Burn your finger. More flux makes everything better.
At least the flux that came with my soldering iron kit is nice.
Yeah.
Link in the descriptables.
So my favorite kind of flux, you put it in like, literally in like a syringe, and then you squeeze the syringe on it and just squirt flux on anything you want.
You would love the YouTube channel, Louis Rossman. He takes apart and fixes MacBook Pros, and Apple hates him. He like gets black market blueprints.
Yeah.
And he just like he just drowns the board in solder and he goes, heats it and just lifts off a chip and puts another one on.
Yeah. There's a thing you can get called Chip Quick, and it's made with every disastrous heavy metal under the sun, and it's so toxic, but it's magical. You just put a little bit of that on there and you can lift off any integrated circuit. It is so great. Try and like, you know, use it when the kids aren't around and outside and stuff.
I still have the flux that I bought in like 92.
Yeah, dude, that's like the Radio Shack logo from my childhood on that. Recognize it. Okay, story time. One time Brian was in college.
Just
Brian,
once?
Yes, anyway. So, the first time Brian went to college, Brian lost his keys out on the soccer field in the snow. So Brian could not get back into his dorm room. So Brian did what every normal human does, goes to Radio Shack, buys a soldering iron, and makes a metal detector to find his keys. Right? That's what everyone would do. So we took a couple of plastic, like, cup of noodles bowls, not like that kind of cup of noodles, but like the big, like, breakfast bowl size ones. And we wound the wire around the bottom of that to make the search coil at the bottom. and we took a Minute Maid soda can and put the coil inside of that, and then we used like clothes hangers and duct tape and spit and drywall screws and whatever to make we didn't have drywall screws back in the day, but we went inside of there's like an ironing room to iron your clothes inside the dorms, so we just soldered in there because we figured if you're gonna have a clothes iron in there, you're gonna have a soldering iron in there, and they're not gonna yell at you probably. At least we didn't get caught. Anyway, so I made that, and we went out and found my car keys in the snow on the soccer field with metal detector. I might have seen them with my eyeballs 30 seconds before the
Metal detector saw it?
But the metal detector did pick them up, just for the record.
I have not as cool of a story as that, but it's got some funny parts. I had this 1979 Nova. My first one was tan, and I locked myself out of my Nova. I had to go back in. So this is the 90s. There's no cell phones. So I had to go back in and call my grandpa to come and bring the Slim Jim. What that is?
Oh yes.
And he's never used it before. He says, I don't know if these things work. This is your uncle's, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, we should just try it, because my uncle showed me how to use it, because he wouldn't let me take it.
Yeah.
Because my uncle showed me how to use it. My grandpa wouldn't let me take it. I'm standing here next to my car like, and I'm looking down at the lock in my car, and my grandpa's like, it's not working! And the lock in my car is going, ka-clunk, 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 stop! And he goes, ka-clunk, wait, do it again, clunk, stop! And I grabbed it, and he yelled at me and says, Grandpa, you've unlocked it. And he looks down. So ever since then...
he thought the door was going to pop open when it did or something.
The problem is with the Nova that I would leave the keys, like I'd put them in the ignition, and I was always get confused because the keys would fall out. So I'd take them out and put them in this ashtray thing that I made. Not really an ashtray, it was where I put my CD player.
Back in the day, we had these little discs, and they had music on them.
So let's start with this itty bitty 150 capacitor.
Okay. Now, something you really shouldn't do at home is if you get a power strip and you put this with the power strip off, not connected to the power, you put this in the power strip, and then you run a really long extension cord so that you're not anywhere near that thing, and then you plug it into the wall.
Never do that.
Never do that. It goes poof, and splashes metal and explosions and paper and all the things as that little thing explodes. It's like a little baby firecracker.
Maybe we should not ever do that with a oil-filled paper capacitor.
Yeah, exactly.
70s.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I did that with one that was about that big once, and I'm pretty careful, but it exploded way before I wanted it to, and it splashed metal all over my dress shirt and stuff. And so, yeah, that was really sad because then it ruined my shirt. I got really lucky that it didn't end up anywhere else on me that was,
Very lucky you weren't doing that inside of a time machine.
Yeah.
While it was operating.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Ooh, hello.
The guitar is plugged in.
The guitar is plugged in. Bwong.
I have a song on my actual album that's out that I need to make more albums. I had a electric guitar plugged in and forgot, and it was leaning against my desk, and I was sitting on the floor fiddling with my pedals and trying to figure out what I wanted to record next, and I just reached up and touched my acoustic guitar, which was leaning against the electric guitar, and it made a harmonious vibration that I could hear in my headphones, and I went, genius, that's what I need. Then I had to figure out how to record it while laying, the only way to play it was to sit on the floor and hold my because I tried sitting on the desk, and the way my arms were going wasn't making it work for some reason. So I had to play it sitting on the floor with one hand holding the guitars together and the other hand playing the acoustic.
Interesting.
And I had to listen to the song so that the timing was right for the notes.
I am not a musical human. I have a lot of musical training, but I am very incompetent musically. It is one area that is just very counterintuitive for me. Like, my fingers just don't move the way that I need them to move, and I have to think too hard. And
yeah, well, I got some of that.
I'm just...
Problem with me is that, I'm a time traveler and stuff, and so it's hard to put into accessible context the things I experienced. I went to 2029 a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And it's like, but then if I write it and it gets really famous and it's still famous, it's only 7 years from now. So if it's still famous after that, people would think, oh, he's singing about something that happened to him before, and be like, no, he made that song a long time ago. You need to watch his YouTube channel.
This is a good idea. Yeah, I was trying to explain to somebody what DNS meant and how computers are connected, and like how they know which address to go to, and yeah.
And that's how I can tell if somebody gave me a good asset tag number or not. So I try to ping it, and if it gives me a DNS record, I know it's good. And if it doesn't, I say, now, did you give me the monitor or the computer? What did you want? The computer. I said, can I please have your computer's asset tag number? I didn't say, can I please have some random number you see in front of you? Of course, I don't say that.
People tend to be cranky.
Yeah. And they don't, like, I don't have a computer. I'm like, what? Well, I do. I have 2 computers and I have a laptop. Right, so the laptop is the computer, so I'm going to need the asset tag number from that. No, I don't. I see, you're not listening.
Yes.
No, you're not. See, the thing is, they're not the one listening. I just solved the whole problem with their thought process by saying, no, you have a laptop. That is the computer.
Yeah. A laptop is short for laptop computer.
I didn't have to correct them and say, those are monitors, not computers.
Yeah.
We're all time travelers. You know what? Talking about the Earth being flat thing, we do not actually go around the sun. We fall towards it in a helical pattern. Not a pattern, a helical spiral like this, because
an ellipse, yeah.
Because everything bends space-time, and it's like having a sheet in a square box.
Yeah, with a weight on it.
With a weight on it. So the Earth wants to fall towards the sun, but the sun's always moving away.
Yeah, perpendicular to it.
So we're falling towards the sun. And I had an argument on Facebook about that, and I'm like, wait, I'm in the black hole of human thought. I need to get out before the gravity consumes me.
Yep. There was a thing I used to do when I was teaching physics. You go to a bowling alley and ask them for all of the old bowling balls they don't want anymore that are just super old or people have forgotten or whatever, right? And you can get like 10 or so of them, bring them to the school, and then you get brooms, like old school push brooms, like the straw kind, with like the really long straw head on the broom, so that you could push the bowling ball, but you can't put a lot of force on it all at once, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is just intentional, right? You just want to make it so that you have something with a huge amount of inertia, but the kids can't push it hard. And then you can kind of teach them about force and inertia and how that works, because people have all sorts of misconceptions, but they get to kind of get a feel for it, like a visceral feel, as they're pushing around. Like, they think that if you have something that's rolling and you push it, it immediately goes in that direction, and it doesn't, right? It keeps going mostly in the direction you did, and it'll...
Inertia.
Yeah. And then by the time you're done with it, you get them to learn about circular motion. You say, how do I get a bowling ball to go in a circle? And the answer is you get it rolling and you push it towards the center of the circle. And it's kind of like that idea what you're saying, like the gravity from the sun pulls the Earth towards it and makes it fall, but because it's moving perpendicular, it just starts to curve a little bit. And then you push it this way some more and it curves a little bit, and then eventually it goes around in a circle.
You know what's crazy though? And the sun goes like this in a spiral around galactic center.
Yeah. Who knows?
And the Mayan calendar, everybody's freaking out that the world was going to end because the Mayan calendar ended in December 12th, 2012.
Something like that, yeah.
That's because that's when our solar system had its own axis stop tilting up, start tilting back down. And by the solar system, I mean the sun was hitting the top and what started coming back down.
I'm not very familiar with anything more than our own sun and Earth, compared to the galaxy. I haven't studied that really at all.
Maybe I could fix my time machine and take you out for a flight.
Sounds good. We had to take one astronomy class in college, and that was it. I have a friend who's a PhD astrophysicist, and he posts all the time on Facebook, people argue about stuff, and he's like, well, what do you know? He's like, I've got a PhD in astrophysics. It tends to end a lot of arguments, but surprisingly, it tends to not.
People still want to argue.
Yeah, because people still want to argue, and they'll just, I have a PhD in astrophysics. Well, what do you know? And you're like...
all of it?
My wife and I started watching Obi-Wan this last week or two, and the first 3 episodes were pretty bad. Like the first episode was like meh. The second, we're like, we'll give it a chance. The second episode was pretty bad. Like, might as well just finish it, I guess. But like, the 5th one in there was pretty good, actually.
It makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Like, he would be, be a gross depression beard guy.
Yes. Well, yeah, that part.
I got that from
Gross depression.
I got that from Honest Trailers when they made fun of Dark Knight Rises. They said Batman gave up the cape and grew a gross depression beard after only clocking in like 2 years as the Batman.
Yep. There's just way too many plot holes for me that I was just kind of like, yeah, no spoilers here, but like when someone was like, Obi-Wan, you're the only one who can help this rescue mission for us. You're like, are you kidding me?
Anybody.
You have a huge amount of connection. And they're like, well, we have to keep it quiet. You're like, shenanigans. You could totally keep that quiet with all your power and wealth. That's nonsense. Obi-Wan's not.
You're only the ruler of a planet that was established in canon on Clone Wars, right?
Yeah. Like, you have plenty of resources to be able to handle this. Sorry. I don't think Obi-Wan is your only hope. They didn't even say the line. Like if
they almost said that line.
Yeah, I think they could have got away with it if he said, "You're our only hope." Like I think it would have been funny.
I'm more like a red wire, green wire kind of guy. There's like 15 green wires. What movie's that from?
I don't think I've seen it. I'm bad with movies. I haven't seen it.
Macgruber.
I still have never seen it.
Saturday Night Live character making fun of MacGyver that they made a movie out of. I never saw him on the TV show.
Yeah.
That movie is amazing.
I should add that on my list.
Macgruber. Him trying to like disarm a nuclear weapon.
So I have a list of movies that I need to go see. Like people are like, you have to see this, cause like.
Get the uncut version.
Okay.
Not telling you why.
Okay.
Not gonna spoil it. It's so dumb.
That's fine. I can just look at it. It's just harder to see because it's sideways. All right.
Is that your phone or a cup?
Yeah, that's my telephone. It's probably my wife saying, it's
Where
past
you
your
at?
bedtime. Yeah. She said, home, exclamation mark, and then a love emoji.
It should be like, you get to see me all the other nights. Rob gets no peeps. No woman at night.
I am on YouTube.
So,
okay.
all right, look up here. He's probably staring at his phone to tell his wife that he's coming home soon. But I'm gonna finish up this really awkward DIY pedal kit in a future video. So, thanks for watching. All right, where am I pointing? Yeah, I'm doing it right. Check out this previous video where I'm working on a guitar body and I'm sanding it down, and then later on I'm gonna do some other stuff to it. And then whatever YouTube thinks is best, you can subscribe over here. Thanks for watching. Bye. Say bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
He said goodbye to himself.
It's your dad joke. You gotta say it.